Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and we're back in bucolic Watertown after, man, it was a big deal yesterday at the Nashville Palace. A big turnout, a lot of fun. It was great seeing a lot of folks there, and I'm glad that we got a chance to chat a little bit, and great broadcast. We appreciate you being a part of all that out there. Even if you were there, we appreciate it. If you were listening here in your regular radio spot, we appreciate that as well. Of course, it was Super Duper Tuesday, and we now have the results. There were no huge surprises, but a lot of things that you can glean from what happened. Believe me or not, there's a lot to unpack here. So why don't we get this started? I have here the final results, and I'm just going to read the Donald Trump side of this, how it came out in each of the states that were taking the temperature of their voters yesterday. Alaska, 88% for Trump. Alabama, 83% for Trump. Arkansas, 77. California, 79. Colorado, 63. I'll come back to Colorado in a moment. Massachusetts, 60. Maine, 73, Minnesota, 69, North Carolina, 74% for Trump. Oklahoma, 82% for Trump. Here in Tennessee, we had 77% for Trump and 20% for Haley. Texas, 78% for Trump. Utah, it was a bit tighter than I think a lot of people expected, 57% for Trump. Virginia, 63%. And then there was that one race where Nikki Haley claimed a victory. Trump only got 46% of the vote in Vermont. Nikki Haley got 50. But at the end of the day, we now stand at 995 delegates for Trump and 89 for Nikki Haley. And so to win and clinch the nomination, you got to get to 1,215 delegates. So I would say that Donald Trump, of course, has got a very good chance of picking those up in the next few days, especially since we learned today that Nikki Haley was not going to stay in the race. We wondered what would happen. Everybody was wondering what is up with Nikki Haley, and I still got questions. I got lots of questions, but here is what Nikki Haley said today, in case you missed it earlier today. She bowed out. This has been edited for time.
I am filled with the gratitude for the outpouring of support we've received from all across our great country. But the time has now come to suspend my campaign. I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets. And although I will no longer be a candidate, I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in. Our national debt will eventually crush our economy. I sought the honor of being your president. But in our great country, being a private citizen is privilege enough in itself. And that's a privilege I very much look forward to enjoying. In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing. I end my campaign with the same words I began it, from the book of Joshua. I direct them to all Americans, but especially to so many of the women and girls out there who put their faith in our campaign. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. for God will be with you wherever you go. In this campaign, I have seen our country's greatness. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, America. God bless you.
And with that, she exited the stage, taking no questions, and that's it. I mean, is that it? Is there another Nikki Haley shoe to drop? I don't know. But I will say this, it irritates me that she made a pledge, and it was it a pledge that means nothing? I mean, if a politician, the only thing a politician has got is their word. And if your word doesn't mean anything, then, that tells you a lot about what kind of person you are. She made a pledge. In order to get on the debate stage, she said she would endorse the nominee, whoever it turned out to be. And if it turned out to be Donald Trump, she said she would. I mean, she said she would, and yet she doesn't. Yeah, well, it's up to him to win over the people who supported me. And so, that leaves I don't know how it feels with you, but it leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. And so, I guess the thing that I'm going to take her at her word. I think she's done. I don't think she's interested in running as an independent candidate or a third party candidate. Maybe she will surprise me because her word doesn't mean much right now. But she has said she's not interested. Okay, fine, not interested. But I don't understand what her end game was. Well, if she in the last days of her campaign, she attacked Trump. She said very ugly and hateful things about Trump. She went after him tooth and tongue. And I look at that and I go, what was the purpose of that? I mean, if you want to tell people what you're for and why you're the better candidate, that's one thing. But at some point, you had to know that you were not going to be the nominee and that he was likely to be the nominee. And what you have done now is you've spent a lot of time trashing the man who is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party. What was your strategy there? I mean, if you want to come back in 4 years or 8 years, I don't know. I'm not so sure that a lot of Republicans are going to be willing to welcome you back. We're going to test that theory at 35 minutes past the hour after the news at the bottom of the hour, because I'm going to open up the phones and ask you, what do you think about Nikki Haley today after all of this? So we'll get to that and we'll explore that a little bit deeper. But for now, I'll take her at her word that she's not going to, have a third-party candidacy. She's not going to be the no-labels candidate. She says she's not interested in being vice president. So I assume she returns to private practice, private life, and we'll just wait and see. But again, baffling. To me, it's just baffling. I don't understand what her strategy was. I just don't get it. But we'll see what happens with Nikki Haley going forward. I mentioned that Colorado supported Trump as the nominee. It was 63% for Trump. 33% for Nikki Haley in colorful Colorado. And you really have to sit, you have to stop and just think for a moment. Remember, it was the state of Colorado that said that Donald Trump should not be on the ballot. The Supreme Court of Colorado, in its infinite wisdom, had already decided that his name should not be on the ballot, which means that thousands and thousands of people who voted for Donald Trump would not have been able to do that. It's the height of arrogance, it seems to me, that somebody in the Supreme Court made the decision that Trump should not be on the ballot, and that they knew better than the good people of Colorado who wanted to vote for him, that they were going to deny those people the opportunity to do that. Again, a shocking thing that has happened here. Trump's, from Breitbart, Trump's Colorado victory comes one day after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned a Colorado Supreme Court ruling that struck his name from the ballot. The Supreme Court's unanimous decision that only Congress can deny a candidate ballot access restored Trump's name to the ballot in states across the nation and killed all other lawsuits still working their way through the courts. The lawsuits had argued that the 14th Amendment, Section 3, the so-called insurrection clause that disqualified certain officials deemed to have committed an insurrection from holding office, applied to Trump, despite no court ever having held that Trump was guilty of such actions. The Colorado, it was a civil war kind of thing. That's what it was. The Colorado order had been stayed by the Colorado Supreme Court, but this is the first time that the Supreme Court had ruled on the insurrection clause. So there you have it. Again, think how the people, the thousands and thousands of people who voted for Donald Trump in Colorado, how their voices would have been squelched had the Colorado Supreme Court decision stood. It's just remarkable the lengths to which the Democrats will go and politicize the legal process to make a point for somebody that they just don't like. Now, on the other side of the equation, Joe Biden has 350,000 problems. Let's just talk about this for a moment. As President Joe Biden, according to the Washington Examiner, cruised through the Democrat primaries on Super Tuesday, his campaign faced a mounting challenger, a significant number of uncommitted voters who protested his handling of the Israel-Hamas war, and maybe from other things. Several Super Tuesday states included uncommitted options on their ballots, gathering about 254,000 votes as of early this morning. It may be a little higher by now. That's right, 254,000 people on Wednesday said that they wanted to vote uncommitted. They're Democrats, and they voted uncommitted. They did not vote in favor of Biden. This was the way they were protesting what the Biden administration has done with regard to Israel-Hamas. That comes to about, let's see. Voters took substantial portions of the totals in North Carolina, for example, where Biden was the sole candidate on the Democrat ballot, gathering 88,021 votes, or 12.7%, compared to the 606 votes that were counted for Biden. So, in other words, 12.7% of Democrat voters in North Carolina voted uncommitted. Wow. Massachusetts, 9.4%. So, I mean, but if you take that and you add to it what happened in Michigan, where about 100,000 Michiganders, 13.2% of all Democrat primary voters also voted uncommitted, it comes to a little over 350,000 people who voted in the Democrat primary who said that they did not want to vote for Trump and they voted uncommitted. That's a hell of a problem if you're Joe Biden. We'll be doing some more talk about Super Tuesday. There's other things that we need to unpack throughout the course of this broadcast. But I think we just want to look forward for a moment because this is the 6th. Tomorrow, March 7th, is the State of the Union. Joe Biden hopes to sort of revamp public opinion about him with a big showing at the State of the Union. And then on the 8th, which is Thursday, the No Labels folks get together and decide, what they're going to do. Are they going to go forward? And then they'll have some conversation. They have a virtual convention. So what's on their minds? A lot of people will be watching as this week progresses to see what they come up with and who they might throw into the middle of all this foray. And again, hang around because I want to get your opinion about what you think about what Nikki Haley has done. Your opinion about her. We'll open up the phone lines at 35 minutes past the hour. Right now, it is 3:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Endorsements coming out for former President Trump. Possible legislation here in Tennessee regarding booting and towing vehicles. And China allegedly trying to steal from Google's AI tech. Those stories 30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. Super Talk, then at 9-7 WTN.
It's, I'll call it 26 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. There's Mac Maury in the newsroom with all the stories. And look, it's Chris Webber in the control room with all the blinky buttons. He had a really tough duty yesterday because, I mean, it's not easy managing his end of a live remote when we're, out on location. It becomes more complicated. It's a complicated thing all around. But it was a hell of a thing last night. I mean,
sounded like it was a packed house.
It was jammed, and
Nice.
and the thing I began to wonder because I walked in at 2:00, and we were still setting up the gear and getting the microphones ready and all that, setting the speakers, and it's a lot of work to put one of those things in the field, and so I walked in at 2:00, and there were two guys sitting at the corner of the bar, couple of good-looking cowboys, man, I'm telling you. They had on cowboy hats, they had on the cowboy vest, they had on their cowboy kickers. I mean, these guys were cowboys, and they had come a long way to be there. They lived almost down on the Alabama line, and they drove all the way up to be there, and they were sitting there, and I think they were into their second beer about the time I walked in the door, and so. So they were having a great time. They had the sort of the catbird seat there. But I mean, there was a lot of there were officials, people who are active in politics, and a lot of Trump people there, and just people who listen to our radio station and who just wanted to kind of come and hang out. And I'm telling you, by the time I got to 5, we weren't really supposed to kick off the big show with all four of the voices until 6, but by the time I got to 5. It was already almost packed. Wow. And so by the time we got to, let's say, 6:15, it was really honestly standing room only.
Dang.
That's great.
Cabana wife showed up, and I had to carry her jewelry to her. She left the house, go to work early in the morning, and she had left her jewelry behind.
Yeah.
So I was carrying around women's jewelry until she got there.
You weren't wearing it, were you?
Well, no, I wasn't wearing it, but it was in my pocket in a Ziploc bag. She tells me, "Get the jewelry off the top of my jewelry box." And I go in there and I take a look, and there's 75 pieces of jewelry on the top of her jewelry box. I don't know which one she wanted. We finally straightened that out. Well, I had to take a picture and get her to tell me which one she wanted. Got that, and so and she said, "But don't forget it. I don't want to be walking around without any jewelry." So apparently, this is very important.
It's very
in Cabana Wife's life. So as soon as she came in, she came to see me to get the plastic bag full of the jewelry. So anyway, she stayed for a little while. She never found a place to sit. She just sort of walked around talking to people, and there were some people there she knew, and so she just kind of wandered around the place for a while and never really even found a place to sit. That's how packed it was. But it was a good time, and we are so blessed, honestly. It is something that has struck me ever since I got into talk radio, even back in D.C., is that people who listen to talk radio, they care about us. They care about us as individuals. They care about what we're doing as a station. They are dedicated and very incredibly loyal listeners.
Yeah.
And it has always struck me that we are very blessed to have those kinds of folks listening to our radio station. I mean, sometimes they get irritated with us from time to time, but we're all one big squabbly family, and then honestly, they really do. They're so loyal and so caring that I'm always touched. And unfortunately, when you're in the middle of a broadcast, people want to come up and talk to you, and it's a little hard because you've got to keep your headphones on so you can hear when it's time to start talking again. It's really, really hard. But I did take some time after it ended to walk around and to thank people and say hello. And it's just a really warm feeling. And I just want to say that we love our listeners, and we really love it when you come out. And some people said they had a little hard time hearing. So much noise you couldn't hear in the back of the room. So we're going to work on that, I think, going forward. But one way or the other, great event. Thank you so much for coming out. Now, in a moment, what do you think about Nikki Haley? But first, it's time for the news on Super Talk.
3:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 60 degrees, cloudy in Nashville. Weather forecast coming up. Traffic report as well in 5 minutes. The Senate Minority Leader, who has publicly feuded with former President Donald Trump, is now endorsing him. And Trump now says he looks forward to working with Mitch McConnell in a GOP majority Senate. Stephen Portnoy reports.
The top Senate Republican has said Donald Trump provoked the January 6th attack, and Trump has repeatedly insulted Mitch McConnell and his wife, former Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao. But in explaining his decision to endorse Trump now, McConnell says he's merely sticking by a pledge he made 3 years ago.
Shortly after the attack on the Capitol.
At the time, McConnell said he'd absolutely support his party's nominee, even if it were Trump.
And he obviously is going to be the nominee of our party.
And Governor Lee came out today as well, endorsing the former president, saying that the United States will be stronger with him leading the nation. Back here in Nashville, a bill to restrict vehicle booting and increased towing regulations is advancing in the state Senate. Fox 17 says Majority Leader Jack Johnson's legislation mandates that you have to have a license to boot someone's car, and it's capped the fee to remove a vehicle about boot at $75. It's headed for the full Senate floor after clear committee yesterday. A Chinese national has been arrested in California accused of stealing confidential trade secrets from Google's artificial intelligence program. Here's Alex Stone with some details.
38-year-old Lin Wei Ding is accused of stealing secrets from Google's AI program while working undercover for two AI startup companies based in China, giving them Google's secrets. Prosecutors say 3 years into the job, he started stealing confidential trade secrets, including the building blocks of Google's data centers used for training AI computers. Ding is now charged with 4 counts of theft of trade secrets.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us.
Well, okay, that's a nice sentiment. We wish him well, but it wasn't an endorsement. She stopped short of giving the endorsement, which is what she had promised to do back when she, signed that pledge so she could get on the debate stage. But she's not standing by that pledge. And there's the whole question of why continue to attack when it's very clear that Donald Trump was going to be the nominee and that you were not going to prevail. Why stay in? Why continue to attack the front runner? It's not helpful at all. And so I'm really curious. I'm baffled by her strategy. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me. But I just want to know, after all is said and done, what is your opinion now, today, of Nikki Haley? And does she have a future in Republican Party politics, or has she alienated so many people that perhaps she will not be welcome back if she wants to run again in 4 or 8 years? I would really love to know what you think. Get on the phone line at 615-737-9986. I mean, it was very, look, I don't ever want to say that people shouldn't run. She of course she wanted to run. But after Iowa and after New Hampshire and then after, Nevada and South Carolina, the question becomes, what in the world is she up to? Clearly, she's not finding favor with enough people to gain the nomination. And then she just goes, sort of ugly and negative on Donald Trump in the last weeks of her campaign. Again, it doesn't make a lick of sense to me unless she's done with politics or she has another shoe to drop. So tell me what you think about Nikki Haley. 615-737-9986. Love to have your thoughts. We have a couple of phone calls in and a lot of open phone lines, so get on the line. Share with us your thoughts. James in Woodbury, you're up with Brian on the drive. James, what's your thought?
Thanks for taking my call. And I don't think that Nikki Haley has a future. She's proven herself to be a non-America First candidate. She's more interested in Ukraine than our country, and that's somebody that I'll never vote for.
So she has alienated you as a voter.
Oh, absolutely. I never supported her to begin with.
Well, well, I understand that, but it's fine if you want to run, but I don't understand the attacks at the end and what's the end game here. Do you think there's another shoe to drop with her this election cycle, or do you think she's done?
Well, I think that a lot of people in the media, and her especially, know something that we don't, and they're waiting for Trump to get arrested or more indictments to come out. She's waiting for her chance to sneak in there.
Well, let me ask you this then, James. If something that we don't foresee happens, maybe it has to do with one of these trials that, they seem to be coming apart at the seams, but who knows? They've thrown 91 indictments at the guy. If they get a conviction that concerns enough people, would it ever change your mind about Donald Trump?
No.
But see, exactly. That's my point. And so again, I don't understand what her end game was. Listen, thank you so much, James, for your call. I appreciate it. Frank calling in from Middle Tennessee. Frank, you're on with Brian on the drive. So what's your take on Nikki Haley now?
Hey, Brian. She's FOS. I don't like the situation where she's from, what she's about, running for this type of office. I thought she was too high up the ladder from where she come from. However, I'm not going to tell you I didn't trust her. Up until this election, she has shown her cards. I wanted to vote for her for dog catcher.
Well, is there any way she could rehabilitate herself in your mind now?
No, sir.
Yeah, see, that's where I think I'm and you and a lot of other people all in the same boat. She has, if she wants to be a player in the Republican Party, I think she's absolutely alienated people to the point where she will not be welcome back if she wants to run again. I mean, she found 20-30% of the vote in some places, but we don't know that those people were truly Republicans. And at the end of the day, she was never going to win. Again, what was the purpose? I'm struggling to understand. Patrick in Gallatin, you're up next on the drive. So, Patrick, what do you think about Nikki Haley at this point, and the fact that she has decided not to honor the pledge that she made to get on the debate stage to endorse the eventual nominee?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I've never trusted her. I think she needs to do like Trump did several years ago and just transfer over becoming a Democrat where Trump used to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
And he came over to be a Republican because he thought, now granted, there's a lot of things Trump's done for us. I'm not going to vote for him, but now I'm without a person to vote for. I didn't vote for Trump. I definitely didn't vote for her. I don't trust anything like that.
Well, just out of curiosity, I mean, there are people out there who are Republicans. It is clear. There are some that don't like Trump. I think the vast majority do. The polls all suggest that. So what are you going to do come Election Day?
Yeah, I'm kind of screwed. Hope, there's not been an independent that's been ever elected as a president. I don't think that the Republicans have all the answers, and I definitely know that the Democrats don't have all the answers. However, there's not enough support for an independent. And it's always like, okay, I'm going to support this guy because I can't do it. Well, why waste your time and all the donations money only to become and give your vote to the Republican?
Yeah. All right. Well, Patrick, thank you. I appreciate that. We like to get here all viewpoints here. How about Susan in Spring Hill? Susan, you're on with Brian on the drive. Today, Nikki Haley gets out. She has said that she wishes Trump well, but she did not endorse him. She stopped well short of that, even though she had pledged to do so. Now, what do you think of Nikki Haley?
I never trusted her. I don't trust that woman at all. I think she'll lie to get where she wants to be.
And so is there any way that she could come back in 4 years or 8 years or somewhere down the line and say, well, I'm going to try again? Is there any way she can rehabilitate herself with you?
No way. No, I think she's a Republican in name only.
And so what do you think her end game was?
I think she's waiting for something to happen to Trump, and she's going to run as a third party.
All right. So, you like this? You still think she's a potential third party candidate? Let me ask you though, if something were to happen to Trump, and a lot of people say, well, there's all these trials going on out there. I don't think it has any impact on the way people feel. If you like Donald Trump, I don't think that affects you at all. But I'm curious, would it affect you?
No. Yeah, I'll vote for him no matter what.
In fact, the more that they throw at him, the more you want to vote for him, right?
Yep.
I know. There's a lot of people that feel that way. All right. Hey, listen, Susan, thank you for the call. Terry in Cookeville. So we're taking a poll here. You got Nikki Haley saying, "I'm getting out, and I wish him well," but does not endorse him, even though she had promised to do so. What's your take on Nikki Haley today, there, Terry?
Well, my take is the only thing that makes any political sense is she is betting that Trump's presidency will be a failure, and if it turns out to be a failure, then she's going to be in the single position to say, I told you so, I told you so.
And so you think that she's just expecting that it's not going to go well. But you know what? I wouldn't bet on that, would you?
I wouldn't, but I think she's making a calculation, and she's going to be the lone voice saying, I told you so.
All right.
The question is, will that work? And if he's successful, even partially successful, she's put her money in the wrong horse, right?
I think she's committed political suicide, quite frankly. I mean, I think she has irritated the base. I mean, but let me just compare and contrast. How do you feel now about Terry? How do you feel about Ron DeSantis?
Well, I think Ron's played the game the way we would traditionally play it, correct?
Right.
He's set over the side. Olin Bush, he's playing party politics. She is trying to be the lone voice, and it's the only position, probably the only spot that she had to differentiate herself from Ron DeSantis.
All right, Terry, thank you. Let's get a couple more calls in. How about George in Smyrna? George, you're on with Brian on the drive. What is your take on Nikki Haley after she made this announcement today, wishing Donald Trump well, but not coming forward with an endorsement?
Have you ever had an ex-wife?
Well, yeah. I think you know the answer to that is yes.
That's what she reminds me of. At one time or another, he has called her an ugly cow or something along those lines, and she will never forget it.
So you think there's some bitterness there? Well,
Yeah.
By the way, even though I don't have a great deal of respect at this moment for Nikki Haley, I also don't think that kind of stuff is necessary in politics, but that's just me. All right, Thomas in Nashville, you're up next on the drive. We got a couple more minutes here. Tell me what you think about what happened today regarding Nikki Haley.
I think she pretty much showed her true colors. She's all alone flip-flop on the issues, and she's on record flip-flopping, and I think she just opened a lot of people's eyes to her true character today.
Yeah, so is there any ways that she can rehabilitate herself with you?
No. I had my doubts when she was in the Trump, in his cabinet. But no, I think she, with her flip-flopping, like when she said the retirement age, she would never raise it. And then she come back and said it might need raising. She would never run against Trump if he was running for president. Then she did. I think she flip-flops on any issue, and I think it's ruined her character, at least for me.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I appreciate that a bunch. Some really good thoughts here. I mean, honestly, I think she has committed some form of political suicide here. It's one thing to say you're going to run and to do it honorably and to honor the promises that you make on the public stage. And she did. She made a promise. And she says, well, I'm not thinking about that now. Well, a promise is a promise. And if she had honored that promise, I would say today she might have some chance of coming back. Although I think she did herself a lot of damage by attacking the very clear front runner for the Republican nomination. But one way or the other, you might have been able to salvage it if you'd only stood by your promise. I think now that has happened, I don't see a pathway forward for her in the Republican Party at all. And I'm just sort of curious, is there another shoe to drop? We'll see. I don't know. I'll take her at her word for now that there's not, but we'll see. 51 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Grace Point Healthcare is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. How? Well, they're a direct pay provider, and your health care is delivered without the red tape of insurers' guidelines. They have smart care plans that make it even more affordable, starting at $69 a month. You get free office visits and basic labs for the entire year. And Grace Point identifies and treats the root cause of conditions, not just the symptoms, through a comprehensive functional approach. And usually by seeing you the same or the next day, you're treated at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. They are on Main Street in Franklin. To call and set up your appointment, call this number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Interest rates could be on the rise. Updates in the tragic story of a woman being found in a creek just a few days ago. Daylight savings on the way, and a bill introduced that would provide feminine products to students in schools. Those stories and more at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, over the past few days, the market's screens have all been pretty red, but today a little green. Dow Jones Industrial's up 75, the S&P up 26, NASDAQ up 91. So what is driving all this? I think, I don't know. We'll find out from John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. I know one thing, John. Jerome Powell is speaking, and people are listening.
Yeah, he sure is, Brian. Yeah, the market today snapped a little bit of a losing streak. Today was a big day. Chairman Powell testified in front of Congress, and the Fed really gave investors in the market at least a little bit of confidence. He communicated that peak interest rates were here. Don't expect additional rates, and at some point they are going to cut rates this year. What he didn't do is commit to a specific timeline. The Fed's been pretty consistent about wanting to see more evidence that inflation is cooling, but that did relax some nerves today. And so the Fed dot plot, which is kind of an indication of when rates will go down, indicates currently about 2 to 3 cuts this year. Tomorrow's a big day. He's also going to testify in front of the Senate. Expect him to be pushed for more additional information, and the market's going to be watching closely.
All right. Thank you much, John. To find out about all the things that John and the folks over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for retirement, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 58, make it 59 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Here's a simple question for you. Do you have replacement cost coverage for your roof? If the answer is not yes, then you don't. And this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim, potentially leaving you thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses. See, these are kinds of things that you learn when you have an insurance agency like King & Associates Insurance in Brentwood, an independent agency. They've been around for 25 years as an independent agency, and there's a great deal to like about an independent agency. They can search through many, many different kinds of products to make sure they find the insurance policy that really meets your needs. And then you get great customer service. You call this number, 615-329-8121. You don't reach a call center. You get to talk to an actual person, and they will help you find the answers that you need. Listen, the big thing here is that you can save a lot of money. And in the multi-policy discount, they're the kings of that. Save 20, 25, 30, 35%. Huge savings are possible. So get your royal review today with King & Associates. See how much money they can save you. Log on to tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance & Associates, royal treatment and great rates.
.401, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 59 degrees, cloudy day in Music City. Traffic, complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Fed Chair Jerome Powell testifying before the House Financial Service Committee. Mark Remillard with more.
On the state of the economy, Powell says inflation has continued to cool, but it's still not at the Fed's target of 2%. Meanwhile, highlighting that the country has so far avoided recession.
While inflation remains above the FOMC's objective of 2%, it has eased substantially, and the slowing in inflation has occurred without a significant increase in unemployment.
He says he doesn't expect the Fed to start cutting rates until they're confident inflation is moving sustainably toward that 2% goal.
Right now in Nashville, a new development in the case of a woman who was found dead in a creek last week.
44-year-old Emily Bradley's car was missing until now. Officers are not saying where her car was located, but say it came from a citizen tip. Bradley was reported missing on February 21st and then found dead days later in a creek along Buena Vista Pike near Hummingbird Drive. She had blunt force trauma to her head. Her family thinks she may have been a victim of domestic violence. Police say they continue to work active leads. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Daylight savings time starts Sunday with its lost hour of shut-eye, and a new study finds lack of sleep raises the risk of type 2 diabetes, increasing 41% in people who only get 3 to 4 hours. Dr. Darian Sutton on the mechanisms at work.
Our metabolism changes, increasing risk of insulin insensitivity, increasing our blood glucose, and those are the backbones of type 2 diabetes. So that is probably why this association exists. But just to be clear, this is an association, not a cause and effect, but it does add to the volume of research that shows us that sleep and health are closely tied together.
The study of more than 200,000 people was conducted at a university in Sweden. Those who had less than 6 hours of sleep had an increased risk of type 2 diabetes by approximately 16%. And back here in Nashville, Tennessee lawmakers have introduced a bill that would require schools to provide menstrual products at no cost to the students in all women's bathrooms, locker rooms, and with the school nurse. 25 states currently have similar legislation. In Tennessee, menstrual products are taxed as non-essential goods. The proposed legislation would require 20% of the state's sales tax revenue from feminine hygiene products to be deposited into a special account that's then distributed to eligible schools to purchase those items for their campuses. The bill has a long way to go in both the House and the Senate to become law. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now, every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and you're listening to The Drive on this day after Super Tuesday, March 6th. It is sort of a grayish day today, but 60 degrees, not horrible. The rain has stopped, but boy, it's just been sort of blah.
Gloomy.
Yeah, gloomy is a good way to put it. But I'll try to be the ray of sunshine in your life here on the radio. That's me, Mr. Sunshine, just a big ray of sunshine. Listen, let's talk about the border situation because, again, I've got stories that are just going to make you angry. It's just as we start to learn more and more and more about the stuff that the Biden administration is doing, it just makes you furious. It makes you so mad you want to spit. And please don't, because that's unsanitary. But please, I'm telling you, it makes you mad. We'll start with Jen Psaki, Peppermint Patty. Peppermint Patty was, she works over at MSNBC, former White House press secretary, and she's talking about the border, and she's looking at some exit notes. They do exit surveys of people, and the people in Virginia who cast their ballots all said, a lot of them said the number one concern they had in Virginia was immigration. Well, this just tickled Peppermint Patty beyond belief. She said, immigration, Virginia? I live in Virginia, and that's true. She probably does live right across the river in Virginia. And, she goes, her kids go to a nice school, and their kids all play soccer together, and they all go to the same clubs, and they all look at the world in the same way. And they can't imagine anybody's truly concerned about things in Virginia that have to do with the immigration. Why are Virginians so concerned about immigration? They thought that was a laugh riot, and then they said this. Hang on, I want to make sure you get to hear the whole thing. There we go. One more time. Here is they thought it was a laugh riot.
If you look at some of these exit polls, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. Again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area.
Build a wall.
That's Rachel Madcow there, and she's ha 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 ha. You've got a border with West Virginia. That's what you got to worry about if you live in Virginia, insulting both the good people of West Virginia and the people of Virginia who are actually concerned about the issue of immigration. Well, not funny, not something to laugh about. Immigration is tragic. People die trying to get across that border. And people are dying because of fentanyl coming across the border. And I bet that's a problem in Virginia. I bet it is a problem in Northern Virginia where Jen Psaki, Peppermint Patty, lives. Let's just say there's a couple of other things to think about, though. Really, honestly, when you think about it, there are some real problems here. For example, Stephen Miller pointed out that about 1 in 8 Virginia residents was born in a foreign country. 1 in 4 very young people in Virginia has a foreign-born parent. In Fairfax County schools, and I'm sure Jen Psaki's kids don't go to a public school in Fairfax County, although they're pretty good. Roughly 20% of students struggle to speak English. Migration has completely reshaped Virginia. Bill Malusian, that sharp reporter over at Fox News who covers the border, says 2 weeks ago in Virginia, an illegal alien from Venezuela was arrested and charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl in Campbell County, Virginia. He had crossed illegally into El Paso, Texas in September of 2023 and was released into the U.S. by the federal government. So, there are things going on in Virginia. Virginians are impacted by what's happening at the border. No doubt about it at all. And so, really poor taste there, Peppermint Patty. And quit insulting the good people of West Virginia, all right? Rachel. This story, I've talked about it. It's starting to pick up a little steam. We were one of the first ones to tell you about the reporting in the Daily Mail, and now some other folks have started to pick up on it. I hope this story picks up a lot of momentum because, it's just unbelievable. I get so angry when I read this story. A new report from the Center for Immigration Studies shows that President Joe Biden's administration flew roughly 320,000 illegal immigrants into 43 different U.S. airports from multiple foreign airports last year, allowing essentially the Biden administration to bypass border security data by directly transporting illegal immigrants into the U.S. from other countries. See, the Border Patrol, it doesn't show up on their numbers because they hop, skipped, and jumped over the border. Number one. Number two, what in the hell is our government doing flying people into the country directly from other countries? Where did they get the funding for that? How is that even possible? You see, I think there were two things. Number one, they didn't want the numbers to go up any higher than they already were because they knew they had a problem with immigration. Number two, they didn't like the picture down on the border when people were coming across, so they decided they would take, this is a significant number of people, 320,000 people. They flew them directly from whatever country they were in, Venezuela, Central America, Mexico, it doesn't matter. They flew them directly into the country so they didn't have to go through the border, didn't have to cross the Rio Grande River. They didn't have to, be processed by Border Patrol. These are 320,000 people who are in this country now that we didn't know about until this story broke. 320,000 people. So, number one, what are they doing flying people directly into the country from third party? Who gave them the authority to do that? And then the other thing that's just maddening about it is that now that they've had to admit this because of a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit that was filed by the Center for Immigration Studies, they refused to tell us which were the 43 airports that they flew them to around the country. And you know what I say about that? I say, look, I don't want to hear another freaking word from Chicago or New York or L.A. or Denver or any of these other places that are whining about, Texas governor sent a bunch of people up to our city, and then, look, we're having to take... You don't know. As far as I know, until I'm told something different, I think a lot of those people showed up because the Biden administration was flying them directly to your town. Tell me otherwise, and to do that, you got to tell me where you flew them. I have a feeling some of them came to Tennessee in the dark of night. There's something wrong with, this just makes me so angry. I can't even see straight. Something wrong about an administration that decides to do a secret operation. We're not going to tell you about it. We're not going to tell you what's happening. We're just going to go into other countries and we're going to pick people up and put them in airplanes and fly them directly to the United States, and they're going to be absorbed into the fabric of America, and you're not going to know a thing about it. And by the way, we're not even going to tell you where we flew them into. 43 different American airports. Now, how did this happen? Well, they used that app. The Border Patrol came up with an app so you could apply on the app for asylum, right? And that was supposed to speed up your processing once you came in contact with the Border Patrol. But what they did was they decided, we'll just fly them into the country once we approve their app. They said, we'll go to the app, they apply, we check them off, we go pick them up and bring them back. 320,000 people flew into the country, and those numbers are not part of the 8 million people who came into this country. This is in addition to the gotaways and the other people we know came into this country. Unbelievable. How in the world can this even happen? The Border Patrol has withheld from the Center for Immigration Studies and apparently will not disclose the names of the 43 U.S. airports that have received 320,000 inadmissible aliens between January and December of 2023. This all happened last year, nor the foreign airports from which they departed. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, the program used by the Biden administration to fly illegal immigrants into the U.S. was part of the expansion of the CBP One app, which was launched at the beginning of 2023. The organization claimed the transportation of illegal immigrants directly into the U.S. is one of the least reported features of the CBP One app. The program is at the center of the FOIA, that's Freedom of Information Act litigation, is perhaps the most enigmatic and least known of the Biden administration's uses of this cell phone app, scheduling app, even though it's responsible for almost invisibly importing by air 320,000 aliens with no legal right to enter the United States since it began in late 2022. Wow, this is maddening. Wow, this is angering. And that this isn't a 60 minutes investigation, that this isn't on mainstream media, that the CBS Evening News isn't, screaming and hollering about this one. No, you're not hearing anything about it. Talk radio and a few publications that look at conservative issues have discovered this, and nobody else wants to talk about it. I don't even know how to explain the depth of my anger about this. Who told them to do that? Who thought that was a good idea? And if it was such a good idea, then why not own it? Why not be honest with the American people? Yeah, we're going to go get these people. We think, look, we don't want them having to swim across the river. We're trying to avoid that. I want to know where they're from. I want to know where they landed. I want to know why these numbers are not included in the other numbers that we get from the Border Patrol. Unbelievable thing. And again, good work by the Center for Immigration Studies. And this story came from American Military News, the news organization that broke this story. And they seem to have it all buttoned up. I don't think that nobody's walking it back. It was the Daily Mail. And I'm telling you, those people do good investigative work. They have a reputation for getting their facts correct. Very quickly, this story as well from the Washington Times. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, did not collect DNA from 60% of illegal immigrants. They're supposed to. They're supposed to get DNA, and they're supposed to you keep that on record and on file. It's an important requirement of the law, but they only got about 40% of them. And this is coming from Chuck Grassley, who says he finds this lapse deeply concerning. The failure weakens our justice system and empowers criminals to illegally cross our border, jeopardizing American lives. Your Biden administration at work, 21 past the hour. Here are some facts about engagement rings that you may not know. There are basically 10 premier bridal designers that every woman knows about. They're like the Mercedes or the Louis Vuitton of engagement rings. They're world-class, iconic quality names like Tacori and Bellagio. And these designers are hard to get. Every jewelry store wants them, but very few actually make the cut. They have to settle for lesser brands or the knockoffs. Around here, there's only one jewelry store that offers these premium rings, and you know who it is, the folks over at Genesis Diamonds. Genesis is the only one that made the cut that meets the highest standards. Genesis is the only store that is allowed to offer these exceptional brands that women really want. And other stores are jealous of this, will try to convince you that these are more expensive, try to get you to settle for something else, something less. But the truth is, Genesis has top quality designer rings for under $2,000. And it's not about price, it's about craftsmanship, it's about quality, it's about detail and individuality. So don't compromise, don't settle. Give her a world-class ring she'll be proud to wear. Genesis Diamonds is in Green Hills and Cool Springs, also home to the state's largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
President Biden to deliver his third State of the Union address tomorrow night, and the former president has plans of his own around the same time, plus some money news. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 minutes past the hour now of 4 o'clock. Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair. That's Mac Morey in the newsroom, and Chris Weber pushing all the blinky buttons, making things work and make the trains run on time. He's really good at that. We have some stuff that has to do with the investigation into Joe Biden, Biden Inc. Interesting, and I'm a little concerned about it because if I'm reading between the lines here correctly, it sounds like the House Oversight Committee has decided, as looking into Hunter Biden's business activities, that what they're going to focus on is trying to point out the places where there are contradictions in testimony, and therefore then turn it over to the Justice Department in the form of a referral, a criminal accountability referral. Here's what he said, talking to Just the News recently. We can impeach, James Comer said. We may impeach, we can impeach, but the Senate is not going to convict. And he's right about that, but that doesn't mean you don't go forward. Comer said in an interview with Just the News, so impeachment really doesn't hold anyone accountable I want accountability, and what I want to do is have criminal referrals. We want to provide the truth to the American people. But we also want to hold people accountable for wrongdoing, not just the Bidens, but the people in government, the deep state actors who've been part of the cover-up. And so what he says is that apparently they're going to look at places where the testimony and the record and the information they have developed do not match, and then hand it over to the Department of Justice. Yeah, like that's going to go anywhere. And say this is a criminal referral. And see if they will pick it up and run with it. I wouldn't hold my breath on that. And meanwhile, they have decided that they're going to call Hunter Biden's bluff. They are asking him to appear on March 20th. Now, remember, Hunter Biden wanted a public hearing, right? And then he went, I don't want to go behind closed doors. I want a public hearing because I don't trust you people. And so they said, nope, you got to come back behind closed doors. We get to do this the way we do it for everybody. You're not special. So you're going to get behind closed doors and you're going to answer questions. And then if you want to have a public hearing after that, fine. And so, now that they've gotten him behind doors and they got all of his testimony, what they want to do is have the public hearing and say, in our deposition, you said this, but here is the record that says something else. Here is countering testimony from so-and-so. How do you explain the difference in the testimony? They want to hold him accountable in a public hearing. So it'll be really interesting to see whether Hunter Biden really wanted that public hearing or not. I have a feeling he probably does not. Also, in the world of the investigation into Fani Willis, that's getting pretty interesting. 3.5 hours today, Ashley Merchant, who's the defense attorney who started this whole mess and pointed out that, well, apparently Fani Willis and Nathan Wade had a romantic relationship, and so they had an improper business she could not have because they were having a romantic relationship. She should not have picked him to be the prosecutor, and so they're trying to bring that up. And of course, that's in the middle of a court case. This is before a Senate panel led by Republicans, because they want to find out whether or not there needs to be a statewide investigation, and whether or not they need to remove her as DA, I think, is the ultimate question. And then this question came up by one of the Republican questioners. Do you have reason to suspect, or can you confirm whether or not Ms. Willis or Mr. Wade were coordinating with the Biden White House in the course of this investigation and prosecution? Merchant said visitors' logs show there was a meeting between Fani Willis and Vice President Harris and the Atlanta mayor, but had no additional information on that. How about them apples? 30 minutes now past the hour. Time for the news.
.430, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 59 degrees, cloudy, overcast on Music Row. Got a forecast traffic report just ahead, 5 minutes. President Biden delivering his third State of the Union address tomorrow night. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the president will continue to fine-tune the speech through tomorrow and is prepared for any heckling. Karen Travers.
One thing to watch for in President Biden's State of the Union address, whether there are any interruptions from members of Congress or guests in the House chamber. An impromptu moment last year resulted in the president getting Republicans to agree they wouldn't cut Medicare and Social Security. He was also repeatedly interrupted by Republicans Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Recently, pro-Palestinian protesters have interrupted Mr. Biden at several of his events. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
The president's ready for anything.
Former President Donald Trump announced on Truth Social that he'll be broadcasting his own play-by-play live of Biden's State of the Union address. Now over to some money news. Here's Daria Albinger.
Stocks did a midweek U-turn, but still closed off their session highs. The Dow added 76 points, and NASDAQ rose 92, and the S&P closed up 26. Fed Chair Jerome Powell told a House committee the central bank will cut interest rates this year once it sees that inflation is closing in on its 2% target. Powell will testify before a Senate committee on Thursday. New York Community Bank Corp's been tossed a lifeline of more than $1 billion from a group of investors. The deal will bring bring 4 new directors to the board, including Steven Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary in the Trump administration. OpenAI is attacking a lawsuit from Elon Musk saying he supported making the ChatGPT maker a for-profit company. Musk, an investor in the company, sued, accusing the artificial intelligence company of betraying its founding goal to benefit humanity as it pursued profits instead.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
You're not sure where to start with retirement planning? You're not alone. Start with Beacon Capital Management's free, fast, and easy retirement savings calculator. It will help you visualize your financial future and help you make the proper steps to reach your goals. Just go to askbeaconnow.com. Or if you need a deeper dive, why don't you give them a call at this number, 615-488-9303. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide that reassurance, and it starts with a simple phone call to 615-488-9303. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path, that all the I's have been dotted and all the T's have been crossed. The number 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon Capital Management stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more again at askbeaconnow.com. It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, March 6th. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Let's get you home safely. Let's make sure everything is good and that you arrive with all parts intact. We want you. I don't know. I started down
That's
that
my
path.
daily goal.
I dug myself into a corner, and I had to get myself out of it. I know we just want you to get there safely. We want you to be home safely so you can spend some time with your family. And when you do, you'll be able to say, well, I learned something today. Maybe, for example, you could have a scintillating conversation about the state of the housing market here in Middle Tennessee. I mean, everybody likes to talk about that. What's going on with the housing market? Because, interest rates are up, and according to the guidance we're getting, it's not going to be anytime soon that they lower the interest rates or cut rates. So how is that impacting the market? With the folks over at CryLike sent over a sort of a sheet of paper that has a bunch of interesting statistics on it about what's going on right now. They call it the Middle Tennessee Market Update. New listings are up. People are putting their market by 3%. The number of new listings in February of 2024, 4,642. That's a lot, but I mean, it's only 3% above where it normally is. Pending sales, however, are down 6%. So you got more. This doesn't make any sense, but you've got more houses on the market. You got more inventory out there, and because there's a bubble, because there's more going up than they're being sold. You got only about 2,443 actual closed sales in the month of February 2024. How long, Chris, would you imagine right now houses are staying on the market if you had to make a guess?
10 days.
Oh, no. Now, I mean, there was a time where it wouldn't even be on there 2 days.
Yeah.
Remember when everything was so hot and the price to find a house, you had to be out there literally standing, with an offer in your hand the moment that they put up the for sale sign. Right now, on average, homes are staying on the market about 40 days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And inventory is down slightly, 2%. There are about 13,000 homes on the market right now. Or there were in the month of February. But here's the astonishing thing. Normally, when you're not moving houses and you got a sort of a glut of inventory, then the prices come down. That's not the case. In the month of February, prices of homes in the Middle Tennessee area went up 7%. So what would you think, Chris? Again, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I need somebody to bounce off here. Average sale price in Middle Tennessee for a home.
$330.
Try again.
$350.
Way low.
Low. Wow.
I was going to say like over 500.
Max saying 500.
You're getting warm. You're getting warm.
Higher than 5?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. Okay. 530.
551, 750.
Wow.
Man.
$551,000 is the average sales price in Middle Tennessee. Now, of course, that's probably jacked up because there are probably a couple of multi-million-dollar properties in Williamson County.
Yeah.
It doesn't take many to throw that up. But I mean, are there houses available for less than that? Sure. But that's the average sales price. And it's up 7%. So, I mean, here's the bad news. If you want to sell your house, it's going to take you a while. And sales are slow, I would say, sort of sluggish. But if you own a house, you're not losing value. That's the amazing thing, is your value is still there. Usually you think, it's gone down because the market is so slow, but that doesn't appear to be the case, at least according to these numbers. I thought that was interesting. So there's your dinner time topic. Honey, let's put the house up for sale. It's worth more than you might imagine.
Yeah.
That's a way to...
Or if you're my age, the dinner time topic is, well, honey, we're screwed. We're never buying a house.
We're never going to be able to buy a house. I know. I tell you. Seriously. Here's another thing that tells you a little bit about Bidenomics right now. Credit scores are on the down. They're going down. They're decreasing for the first time in decades as more borrowers are falling behind on payments. Consumers who have been increasingly relying on credit cards to make ends meet, it may be finally catching up with them. The national average credit score, which has been steadily increased over the past decade, fell from 717 to 718, from a high of 718 in the beginning of 2022. According to a report from FICO, developer of one of the scores most widely used by lenders. FICO scores range between 300 and 850. 850 is the best possible credit rating you have, but it's been a downtick. The average is now 717, down from 718. It's the first time in well over a decade that the score has gone down. Now, I don't know. That really concerns me. Does it concern you? I think it really does concern me. We will say now, going back to 680, remember when we had the housing crisis about 10 years ago? Credit scores bottomed out at 686. So there you have it. I think that's a sign that, a lot of people are struggling. I mean, so you get caught up in this inflation thing, and you can't afford to put food on the table, but you also can't afford to go hungry, right? So what do? You put it on the credit card, and sooner or later you get to the point where you put so much day-to-day stuff on your credit card that you can't pay off your credit card payment. And then you're in a mess, and your credit score goes down dramatically. There's that. And then private payrolls rose by 140,000 in February, which is less than expected. I mean, that sounds good, but it's not good. So you look at the February numbers, and, private payrolls are going up, but not by as much as you might expect, and not as much as they had predicted. Now let's get to what Chairman Powell said today. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, the man that everybody looks to when he speaks, people listen because they're trying to find out when are interest rates going to come back down so that we can all afford to buy a house. Reiterated that he expects interest rates to start coming down this year, but he will not say when. In prepared remarks for congressionally mandated appearances on Capitol Hill Wednesday and Thursday, Powell said policymakers remain attentive to the risk that inflation poses and don't want to ease up too quickly. In considering any adjustment to the target range for the policy rate, we will carefully assess the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Or as I would have heard it if I had been in the room, blah, 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 because I don't know what they're talking about. But I do know that interest rates are high and interest rates are bad. Everybody's just dying for them to come back down, to where, so that they can refi. If you had to get in, credit cards are tied to that. If you had to buy a house in the height of high interest rates, you may have paid 7% probably. I mean, I know that when we bought our house, it had just started to go up. We got in at 5%, and I felt pretty good about that because there have been times in my life when I had a 12% interest rate on a house. Whew! I'll never forget those days. We had such good and easy and available low interest rate money for so long, 2.5%, 3%, 4%. That was good stuff. But now we got used to it. We had it for so long. People really got used to it. And a lot of people, are really just, please have the interest rates come back down so I can get back in the housing market. Not only is it that houses have gone up in value, but when you add to that the fact that your interest rates are so much higher, it prices a ton of people out of the housing market completely. Not to mention what it's doing to people who've got a bunch of stuff stacked up on credit cards, where your credit card, interest rate can be 20% or more. So, they really, everybody's looking to Powell to see when he's going to do it. So the best guidance we have here is sometime this year, it'll come down some, but it's not going to come down right now. During the question and answer session, Powell said he needs to see a little bit more data before moving on rates. We think because of the strength in the economy and the strength in the labor market and the progress we've made, we can approach that step carefully and thoughtfully with greater confidence. When we reach that confidence, the expectation is we will do something this year. We can then begin dialing back that restriction on our policy. Of course, the Biden administration would love to see interest rates go down. And if you look back over the history of time, interest rates traditionally do drop during an election year because, that's a sign, well, the economy is percolating and then the economy is good, is low interest rates. So, a lot of people say, look at the economy and interest rates as being sort of tied together. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. One way or the other, it is not uncommon in an election year for those interest rates to go down. But right now, if the Biden administration was hoping for some good news as they head into campaign season, ahead of the conventions and all that, I'm not sure they're going to get it. I don't know, the people are going to be really happy when it happens, but I don't know exactly when it is going to happen. And as it stands right now, the guidance from Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, is, yeah, we'll get there, but don't hold your breath because we don't know exactly when we're going to get there. All right? Maybe a couple of interest rates. So if you're we're at 7% right now, probably on average, somewhere close to that. You're probably not going to get down to 5 this year. And for me, I got to get to 3 before it makes sense to, you got to cut it at least 2 points below where you are to make sense to refi, is the old at least that's the old rule of thumb I used to hear. So we'll see what happens, but don't hold your breath. 49 minutes, we'll call it 50 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
An urgent manhunt in Philadelphia after 8 teenagers were shot on a bus. An endangered child alert going on day 7 here in Tennessee. Endorsements coming out for the former president and a bill that would keep your dog out of restaurants. Those stories and more, 5 o'clock, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
You definitely want to keep my dog out of a restaurant. It would be bad. It'd be an ugly scene, I promise you. Doritos has fired a trans ambassador after they discovered that this person had, in their past, said some very disturbing things on social media. Now, this isn't Doritos America, but it's still the same company. Doritos, a subsidiary of PepsiCo. I named this guy, it's Samantha Hudson, as one of their brand ambassadors, appearing in some promos that were called Crunch Talks. This is somebody who was very popular on social media in Spain. And apparently, though, they found out that there were some very concerning things like, here's one. I want to do thuggish things to a 12-year-old girl, he once tweeted out. So they have cut their relationship with Samantha Hudson. But again, woke means broke. I wonder, will they have a blowback like we had with Bud Light? Be interesting to see. 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Imagine what you could do and how you would feel if you or your loved one had no pain. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley at the Wellness Institute of Nashville can help you lead a pain-free life. Getting better and feeling healthy is important to them, and they are freezing cost at 2023 levels. That's right, half off spinal decompression treatment, half off the KT knee machine, and new patients get a full consult for only $23. And here's what you get. Now, they will look over the things that they have discovered about your situation. They will give you a complete advanced report. If you have x-rays or MRIs, look at them. They'll look at them in detail. They often find things that other people have missed. And then they're going to save you some money. 2023 pricing for just $23. New patients, you get an exam, consultation, x-rays, etc. And you go over it with the doctor and save a lot of money. So call Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley to set up your consultation today. 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Give them a call again today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 59 degrees in Nashville. Traffic report, complete weather forecast coming up 5 minutes. An urgent manhunt in Philadelphia after multiple children are injured in a mass shooting at a SEPTA bus stop this afternoon. Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel spoke at the scene as the search continued for gunmen. He says the shooters exited a vehicle and aimed at children at the bus stop.
As a result of that gunfire, we now have 8 students who have been shot. Ranging in the age from 15 to 17 years of age. One of the kids is in critical condition. He was shot multiple times.
He continued to say at some point when the bus is pulling up and the kids are converging to get on the bus, 3 individuals exit that vehicle. They just started multiple times, at least over 30 times they fired into the kids. that were getting onto that bus. Back here in Tennessee right now, 7-year-old out of Rutherford County has entered its 7th day on an endangered child alert out for Iris Crumb, but no Amber Alert has been sent out. Here's Channel 4's Dryden Quigley telling us why.
Iris does not meet all of the criteria that TBI have set for an Amber Alert. The child must be younger than 17 and in imminent danger of injury or death. Instead, Iris qualifies for an endangered child alert, which means there is concern for the missing child's safety. Iris was last seen near Blue Fox Trail in Rutherford County. On Friday, she was supposed to be given back to her dad, who won full custody of her, but she never showed up. Instead, police believe her mom, Kayla Soretta, who does not have custody of her, took Iris and fled. She hasn't been in school for the past week.
Soretta is wanted by police for custodial interference. The father says he's willing to stay in Rutherford County as long as it takes to get his daughter back. Meanwhile, Sebastian Rogers out of Sumner County, still missing, has been since Sunday, February 25th. That search starting to wind down with no trace of that autistic 15-year-old. And despite their falling out 3 years ago, Trump has Mitch McConnell's support.
On February the 25th, 2021, shortly after the attack on the Capitol, I was asked a similar question, and I said I would support the nominee for president even if it were the former president.
And here in Tennessee, Governor Lee endorsed the former president as well, saying the nation would be stronger with him leading it. Some possible legislation here in Tennessee. Fox 17 reports that a bill that would keep untrained service animals out of restaurants is moving forward in the state. Senate Bill 1595 would keep live animals out of food service establishments and would give restaurants the power to turn away anyone with their pets. The law pertains to service animals, emotional support animals, patrol dogs with police or security officers, and even live fish. The bill passed the Senate 88-4 this week. It still needs to pass the House. Lawmakers are hoping to bring a similar bill to grocery stores next year. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, good evening, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson coming to you live from, it's bucolic, Watertown. It's also gloomy. We got 59 degrees and just gray, yucky skies. I'm ready for some blue skies and some sunshine. I will say there's one positive thing here. Those trash trees that I have, they're looking as good as they're ever going to look. The Bradford pears are in full bloom.
Yeah, wait till you start to smell them.
Oh, I know. It's just they're the worst tree ever, and I got like 20 of them. I've got so many dead-gum Bradford pears. One of them is going to meet its demise this summer. I know, but I to be honest with you, if I wanted to get rid of all of them, I don't think I could afford to. You know how much talk to get a tree taken down, and these things are not small. But they are in bloom right now, and they're at least pretty to look at. But you're right, not that great to smell.
No.
Bradford pears, the trash tree. I didn't know anything about Bradford pears. When I bought this house, but I sure got a bunch of them, and I've learned a lot about them since. I'll tell you that for sure. Across the street, my neighbors have a Bradford pear. Tell me why people do this. I don't know. I mean, I guess at the time, I'm not suggesting it was something she thought up. It's just something that happened. People plant trees under power lines.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
Yep, I've wondered that. I've seen it many times.
Yeah,
And the power companies don't care. They just come in and...
No, they come in and just lop them off.
Yep. You want electricity or do you want a tree?
That's right. Well, I mean, but the way you avoid that is not to have planted a tree under the power lines initially. True. But I mean, because, they look nice when they're 4 or 5 feet tall. But when they turn into, 30, 40 feet tall, you've got a problem.
Yeah, they don't stop growing. That's what you got to remember.
That's right. That's right. Well, anyway, this is also the day after Super Tuesday. Let's move into I don't know, do you want to call it our 2024 report? Why not? Because I've got the button right here, and I'm not afraid to use it. It's time for our 2024 report of the day after Super Tuesday. Good night for Donald Trump all the way around. Here we go. He won 88% of the vote in Alaska, 83% in Alabama, 77% in Arkansas, California 79%, Colorado, it was a little closer, but still 63%, Massachusetts 60%, Maine 73%, Minnesota 69%, North Carolina 74%, Oklahoma 82%. That may be the high watermark. No, Alabama's 83 and Alaska's 88. Okay, so Tennessee 77, Texas 78, Utah 57, Virginia 63, and Nikki Haley won Vermont. She came in with 50% of the vote. Donald Trump had 46. So she wins one. Trump wins all the rest. He has now a total of 995 delegates. He needs 1,215 to clinch. So that could happen. That could happen, maybe in the next couple of little contests. He could add up enough to get across to 1,215. He would be then the official nominee. But he really is anyway already because, as you know, maybe you don't know because you've been at work, Nikki Haley finally decided to get out. She decided she would walk away, Renee, and said bye-bye today. But look, you're not going to like, if you're a Trump supporter, you're not going to like the way she said bye-bye. It wasn't, hey, good luck, Donald Trump, and I endorse you. It was, I wish you well. You know what that means. I wish you well. That's, like when you break up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you say, I wish you well.
I wish you'd fall into a well. That's what you're thinking.
That's right. Exactly right. Well, anyway, here, edited for time, is what she had to say today as she exited the race and said she's out.
I am filled with the gratitude for the outpouring of support we've received from all across our great country. But the time has now come to suspend my campaign. I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets. And although I will no longer be a candidate, I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in. Our national debt will eventually crush our economy. I sought the honor of being your president. But in our great country, being a private citizen is privilege enough in itself. And that's a privilege I very much look forward to enjoying. In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee. But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing. I end my campaign with the same words I began it, from the book of Joshua. I direct them to all Americans, but especially to so many of the women and girls out there who put their faith in our campaign. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God will be with you wherever you go. In this campaign, I have seen our country's greatness. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, America. God bless you.
So there she goes. She exits the stage. I don't know. Is that the last we've heard of Nikki Haley this election season? I think so. She said, "I'm no longer going to be a candidate." But I don't know, because you can't believe anything she says, given the fact that she made a promise that she was going to endorse. If she would endorse the person who was going to be the leader, and it's clear it's going to be Donald Trump. He's going to be the nominee. There's no doubt about that now. It appears he will be the nominee. But why wouldn't you endorse? Well, I don't know. She said she would in order to get on the debate stage. But what was she, crossing her fingers behind her back or something? No, I had my fingers crossed. I don't really have to do it. I mean, come on. If you make that commitment, then you need to honor the commitment, or you don't do the commitment. So I think when somebody says they're going to do a thing and they don't do a thing, then you can't really trust what they say going forward. Is she out for sure? I mean, I think maybe she is, but who knows? She doesn't honor her commitments, that she makes, so it's hard to know. Look, I'm being harsh on Nikki Haley. I don't dislike Nikki Haley. I just don't understand Nikki Haley. Nobody blames you if you want to run for president. Knock yourself out. Get out there and give it your best shot and see what happens. But I mean, after Iowa, and after New Hampshire and Nevada and South Carolina, we pretty much had it figured out, didn't we? She wasn't going to be the nominee. It was going to be Donald Trump. And yet she continued to push all the way through Super Tuesday. And not only that, it's okay if you want to fight the fight, get out there and fight it. But then she did something that I think alienates her in Republican circles going forward. She attacked Donald Trump, who was going to be the presumptive nominee. Not helpful, number one. And then number two, why go there if you want to maintain your relationship with Republicans going forward? Then why attack him? Why antagonize him? Why be so adamant about it? And then at the end of the day, why do you decide not to endorse him? I don't understand that. We ran a little phone, focus group in the first hour of the show at 3:00. And to a person, people called in and said, you know what? I don't trust her. I there's no way she can rehabilitate herself with me now. I don't like what she's done or the way she's handled herself in all of this. And look, it's not just about being against Donald Trump. You can be against Donald Trump, but you don't have to be mean and ugly about it if you want to stay alive in Republican politics going forward. And then I said, compare and contrast. Okay, so how do you feel about Nikki Haley compared to, let's say, Ron DeSantis, who got out but then held his fire. He said, well, we had some disagreements, but, I wish him well, and I'm going to suspend my campaign. He wasn't ugly about it. He didn't go after the front runner. Nikki Haley likes to think that she's a Reagan Republican, but you remember what the number one commandment of Ronald Reagan was? The 10th commandment of Ronald Reagan was to not, or the 11th commandment, sorry, the 11th commandment of Ronald Reagan was to never speak ill of another Republican. Nikki Haley decided not to do that. So I assume she's out. But who knows? Who knows? Again, her whole way of handling things really, quite frankly, doesn't make any sense at all to me. I just don't understand it. All right. Remember a moment ago I ran through all those numbers? I want to revisit Colorado, where 37 delegates were up for grabs. In the state of Colorado, Donald Trump received, are you ready for this, 63% of the vote. I mean, he won it handily. Nikki Haley came in with 33% of the vote. So basically, round and round, it's like 2/3 for Trump, 1/3 for Nikki Haley, roughly. But isn't it interesting that those voters, the hundreds of thousands of voters in the state of Colorado who wanted to vote for Donald Trump would have been denied that opportunity if the Colorado Supreme Court had had its way. The Colorado Supreme Court had taken him off the ballot. And if the Supreme Court had not come in, well, he would have still been on the ballot while the matter was being adjudicated, I suppose. But, I mean, if the Supreme Court of Colorado had had its way, all those people would have been unable to vote for the person they wanted to vote for in this election, in this primary election. Isn't it arrogance? Talk about arrogance that these politically appointed Supreme Court justice members of the Colorado Supreme Court felt like they knew better about what was right for the state of Colorado than all of those people who ended up voting for Donald Trump. No, you can't do that. That's not the right thing to do. Trust us, we know better than you. We're not going to let you vote for him. If they'd had their way, that's the way it would have been. Insane. And again, you got to know that Donald Trump smiled a bit when the numbers came in from Colorado, and Colorado got called. On the other side of the equation, Biden's got a real problem, a serious problem, 350,000 problems. And I'll explain what that is after this commercial break, 20 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
Mitch McConnell comes out to support Trump, a new bill in Tennessee regarding booting and towing vehicles, and a frightening moment on a flight from Houston to Fort Myers. We'll tell you all about it. 5:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mac, I'm sorry. I got carried away, and I forgot that this is appointment radio. And I said, I promised we were going to do a story to talk about Biden's 350,000 problems.
I know. I heard you tease that. I was like, well, he's got to pay off this tease.
Well, no, but you know what? I'm going to pay it off after the news.
Wow.
Because this is important. This is important that we keep our appointment with the radio audience who they've come to expect.
Yeah.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
That's right, it's time. Even though I forgot it momentarily, I don't know what was wrong with me. It's time for Mac Maury's wide, wild world of sports. And now, here, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend. And I'm really sorry, Mac. Mac Maury, ladies and gentlemen.
No, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it at all. We're here. We're getting it done. That's what matters.
But people really look forward to their time with Mac, and so I don't want to. We'll do the story here in just a short bit. So tell us what's on tap for today on Mac Maury's wild world of sports.
Well, if you're on Super Talk TV, you can see that I am in my orange. It's Vols time. We've got a Vols game coming on in 34 minutes now. They will take on the 17th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. This is the second to last regular season game of the season.
What sport is this we're talking about?
We're talking basketball. We're back in basketball
Just
here.
checking.
Tennessee, the fourth ranked team in the country as we head closer and closer into March Madness. This could be a number one seed Tennessee Volunteers team that we're talking about here in 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but we discussed just a few weeks ago how they're headed into their roughest stretch of the season. The last 5 games of the season, they're going to face some really good ranked SEC opponents that could put them either out of the number one SEC team conversation or vault them into it. And so far, they have succeeded with. So Texas A&M was start of this 5-game stretch. They beat the Aggies by 35 points. Now, that's important because, they absolutely destroyed Texas A&M. And it was just a few weeks prior that Texas A&M upset them at Aggie Land, beating them by 16 points. So that was a personal game for the Volunteers to say, you know
we
what?
have some business to clean up.
Exactly.
Here, right?
We're back here in Knoxville. We're back here at Thompson Bowling Arena. We're going to take care of the Food City Center, whatever they call it now. I call it Thompson Bowling. They're back there at TBA, and they took care of business, 35 points. Next week, 13th ranked Auburn at Tennessee. They beat them by 8 points. Then they go to Alabama. Alabama held the number one spot in the SEC. They take care of business. They beat them at Alabama by 7 points. And now, here we are tonight, taking on South Carolina, number 17th ranked team in the country. They will end their season hosting number 15, Kentucky. So really, this has just been a gauntlet. You're talking 13, 16, 17, and 15th ranked teams in the nation, all 4 in a row. Tennessee has the chance to go sweep that crazy matchup and crazy opponents in 4 straight games. South Carolina is going to be a tough one. South Carolina got the better of Tennessee about a month ago, January 30th. It was a tightly contested matchup in Tennessee. 63-59 was the final score. South Carolina eked that one out. So this is going to be a big game for Tennessee. Also, obviously we've talked about Dalton Connect being the main star of Connect.
What a great name for a basketball player.
Connects from 3. He averages 20 points a game. He can do it all. He did it all. He scored, 36 points, 35 points against South Carolina. It was a month ago. But no one else. They had one other scorer in double digits. He's going to need some help here tonight from Jonas Adu, Zakai Ziegler. If Santiago Vescovi, the European point guard, can get going from deep, that would be great for Tennessee tonight. I'm really looking for the Volunteers to play with speed. This is a South Carolina team that has athletes, but they kind of run this 2 big man game. They're not exactly the Twin Towers. They're not 7 feet tall, but they're 6'8", 6'9". They're big. They're girthy. They know how to put their back to the basket and gain space through resistance. And Tennessee's got athletes. They can play really, really fast. They can also play control and patient, but I'm looking for them to utilize that athleticism here today and start jumping out of the gym. I think the athleticism of Tennessee can take over South Carolina here early. I think South Carolina is going to try to slow down the game, get inside, kickouts for 3, stuff like that. I think this is going to be a huge game, obviously, for the Volunteers, but one that can kind of put them in a different echelon throughout the rest of the SEC if they win tonight.
Wow, that's great stuff. And so, but of course, you can't watch in the newsroom there, can you?
No, I can't. There's not a TV sitting right here next to me that I can change the channel. But no, I won't do that. I would never.
Yeah, no, you would never be irresponsible and on company time watch the basketball game. No, I know you would never do that.
Of course not.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you, and I'm sorry again that I overlooked you. I just got carried away and lost my place in the rundown. We'll pick up that other story coming up after the news, but right now, take off the sports hat, which is snazzy and orange today, and put on the news hat because it's time for the news on Super Talk 99.7.
.5:30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 59 degrees, traffic report, weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Despite their falling out 3 years ago, Trump has Mitch McConnell's support.
I said in February of 2021, shortly after the attack on the Capitol, that I would support President Trump if he were the nominee of our party, and he obviously is going to be the nominee of our party.
Here in Tennessee, Governor Lee endorsed the former president today as well, saying the nation will be stronger with him leading it. And back here in Nashville, a bill to restrict vehicle booting and increase towing regulations is advancing in the state Senate. Fox 17 says Majority Leader Jack Johnson's legislation mandates that you have to have a license to boot someone's car, and it caps the fee to remove a vehicle boot at $75. It is headed for the full Senate floor after clear committee yesterday. And some scary moments on board a United Airlines flight from Houston to Fort Myers. Alex Stone.
In cell phone video shared with ABC News, you can hear a flight attendant acknowledge a problem.
Something happened.
Sparks and flames could be seen coming from an engine. Passengers tell ABC News there was a loud bang and shaking on board. People were screaming and crying, even sending goodbye messages to loved ones. The type of issue, a compressor stall, is not uncommon, but can be scary for those on board. The plane returned to Houston. One passenger saying all United gave them was a $15 drink voucher.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Busy bee, when you need heat or cold AC, 615-775-7833. That's the number. And they'll come right over to your house. They'll buzz right over and get it going. Whether you got an air conditioning, you got a heating problem, you got a plumbing problem, they're the place to turn to. And let me tell you, you need to become a member of the Beehive Club. It's a good deal, first of all, because really the way you provide and prevent having real serious problems is that you do preventative maintenance. And that's the whole idea behind the Beehive Club. $99, that's where it starts. You get 3 thorough maintenance services each year on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7. And, man, as many times as I've had to call them, I'm telling you, that's paid off. And 10% off all repairs. Again, that pays off. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 775-7833, online at busybhvac.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
It's 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and as promised, we'll come back to that story. I don't know where I got lost in the rundown. I hate it when that happens. You know, you gotta have it. You think that I just throw this stuff together, folks? We have a rundown, we have a schedule, we have a plan, and I just lost where I was in the rundown.
It's okay. It happens every now and then.
Okay, but I apologize because I want you to know I really enjoy that thing we do with Mac Maury every day.
Yeah,
I mean it's good stuff.
Oh yeah.
We learn a lot. All right, so I teased you and I said that Joe Biden has over 350,000 problems, and he really, really does. Let me just run through this. This is from the Washington Examiner. As president, Joe Biden cruised through the Democratic primary on Super Tuesday. His campaign faced a mounting challenger, a significant number of uncommitted votes in protest of his handling of the Israel-Hamas war. That's right. I mean, by the way, that guy, what was the guy's name? Dean something or other was running against him. He got out today, too. And I was going, were you really ever in? I don't know. He's out. Dean Phillips was his name, Democrat from Minnesota. What would make you want to run a race where, you're not going to get anything? No support whatsoever. But in one way or the other, he's out. But the bigger problem is not that he had a challenger and the challenger is now gone. The bigger problem is that around 350,000 people over the course of the campaign thus far have chosen to write in and say that they are uncommitted. In other words, you had a choice in many of these states of voting for Joe Biden and some of the other lesser-known candidates, or you could vote uncommitted. I don't want to commit. I don't like any of my choices, is essentially what you're saying. So, as it turns out, that number now has reached 350,000 people who have said that they want to remain uncommitted, that they can't bring themselves to vote for Joe Biden. Some of that has to do with Israel-Hamas war. I think some of it has to do with the fact that he's old. So, just on Super Tuesday, here we go, several Super Tuesday states included uncommitted options on their ballots, and uncommitted gathered about 254,017 votes as of Wednesday morning. Probably more by the time if we were to look at the numbers now. In addition, there were about 100,000 Michiganders, 13.2% of that state's Democrat primary voters, who also selected uncommitted. So that brings us to what? 354,000. More than that. And so what in Michigan, it's a different. It is definitely about the Israel-Hamas war. The state has a large number of Arab voters, Arab American voters, and also Muslim voters who do not like the way that Joe Biden has conducted himself in the conduct of our support for Israel in the Israel-Hamas war. They don't like it, which is why you saw the day before Super Tuesday, Kamala Harris come out there and very forcefully say, we must have a ceasefire. The reason she did that was she knows that there are a lot of people, especially young people around the country right now, who don't like what we're doing with regard to Israel and Hamas. I don't understand it, quite frankly. This is the one thing that I think Joe Biden has done right, is support Israel as much as possible, but he's going all wonky, what do we call wobbly on it. He doesn't seem to want to stick with it anymore, and now you got Kamala Harris coming out and saying, we need to have a ceasefire. They know this is an issue, and if they don't get this resolved in a way that satisfies the people of Michigan, it pretty much kills the chance that Joe Biden has to become president of the United States. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible for him to win without Michigan, but it's really hard when you start doing the Electoral College math. I've heard many very experienced prognosticators, I guess is the word I want to use, who've looked at the situation and say you cannot get to 270 Electoral College votes without Michigan if you're Joe Biden. If you lose Michigan, you've lost. And they've got a problem. 350,000 people are so irritated that they could not bring themselves to cast a ballot for anybody. They said they were uncommitted. But the fact of the matter is, I guess what you have to look at when you look at Super Tuesday at the end of the day, what's the big headline? It's not that Nikki Haley got out, and I think this 350,000 thing is a problem, but it's not the overwhelming problem. But the thing that you got to walk away with is a recognition of the fact it's going to be Biden versus Trump. That's it. I mean, no surprise, no shock. We all sort of knew that was going to happen, but nonetheless, here we are. We're in for a rematch of what we've had before. The Epoch Times wrote a story that had to do with 9 takeaways from Super Tuesday. Number 1, nomination for Trump nearly in reach. He dominated 14 of the 15 Super Tuesday contests. He needs to get to 1,215 delegates to clinch the nomination. He's at 900 and change. The number 2 thing that they point out is, okay, what is, then they talk about the protest votes against Biden. According to early resorts, over 19% of Minnesota voters chose uncommitted. Wow. I mean, you're talking about nearly 20% of the Minnesota voters. Number 3, Nikki Haley, what she's going to do, that sort of got resolved today. Republicans win California Senate nomination for the first time in 3 cycles. You remember, it's Republican Steve Garvey, the former baseball all-star. He placed second behind Adam Schiff, which means that the real runoff will be between Garvey and Schiff. But it was they were like 3 Democrats running and 1 Republican, and it could have been entirely possible that 2 Democrats would have run against each other. But it's going to be Republican Steve Garvey versus Schiff. That'll be an interesting race to watch. I mean, if California sends a Republican senator to the Senate, holy moly, would that be something? The numbers in some polls have been close, but in the way it came down, it was Schiff won, Garvey second, others followed. Doesn't matter. Top two now go to the main election in November. North Carolina races could affect Congress and the presidential election. The big prize in North Carolina was each party's nomination for governor. Incumbent Democrat Governor Roy Cooper is term limited, cannot seek re-election, so neither side will have an incumbent advantage in November. Republican Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who was a furniture manufacturer until 2018, when he began a meteoric political rise in the state, won his party's nomination by a double-digit margin. The state attorney general is Josh Stein. He took out all the other contenders on the Democrat side of the equation. It's Robinson versus Stein for governor in North Carolina. That was a big deal. It looks like Representative Barry Moore, a Republican of Alabama, will likely secure another 2 years in Washington after beating Jerry Carl, Republican of Alabama, in a competitive primary contest there. This was to fight off. They had people, Republicans were fighting over a redistricting era thing going on. In the state of Texas, Ted Cruz won his nomination quite easily on the Republican side, but will face Colin Allred. Some people say this could be tight and be one to watch. I always hear this. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna turn Texas blue. Don't you worry. You just watch. You Democrats keep bragging how they're going to turn Texas blue, and I keep going, it ain't the Texas I know. So just a few of the things that were resolved. And so now we prepare for the rematch. Now, one other thing I want to throw in here. This is from the Financial Times. They have said that some people say there are 7 battleground states. They're going with 6. I'm going to run through them and tell you where we are on each of them. Immigration is going to be a big issue in the state of Arizona. Georgia, they got that one's going to be one to watch. It is the host to one of Trump's 4 criminal cases in Fulton County, but as you know, that is falling apart. Michigan, the issues are going to be Israel and green energy, because not only have you irritated the Arab American voters and the Muslim voters in the state of Michigan with your position on the Israeli-Hamas war, you have also irritated auto workers with your push for green energy and electric cars. Auto workers, look, they're not crazy about electric cars. You know why? It takes fewer auto workers to make electric cars than it does to make, the old gas internal combustion engines. It takes a lot more union workers. So the unions don't like the fact that Joe Biden is trying to force us into electric cars. In Nevada, that will be one to watch, and where the big issues are unemployment and the economy. And let's see what else we got here. Pennsylvania, it's a part of the Rust Belt. And what will happen there is probably economy rate related. Also watch the state of Wisconsin. That's one pretty tight. I've looked at the numbers. And if you look at Real Clear Politics and you look at all of the averages for the battleground states, the 2 tightest are Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Trump leads in all of them, but in Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin, it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight. So, it's going to be interesting to see how. Well, let me just pull those up real quick. Tell you exactly where we are. I have that right here at my fingertips. In the battleground states. In Wisconsin, Trump leads. This is the Real Clear Politics average of polls. Trump leads by 1. In Arizona, he leads by 5.5. In Georgia, Trump leads by 6.5. In Michigan, he leads by 3.6. That's pretty amazing. Pennsylvania, actually the numbers have changed since the last time I looked. Biden now leading by 0.8. But that's still pretty tight. And there are polls out there. I can pull it up and take a look. It's all over the place. We got some polls. Bloomberg has Trump winning by 6. The Hill has Trump winning by 2. But those are the most current polls, so maybe there's been a pull away there. But when you average in some of the other, like Susquehanna, had back in January had Biden winning by 8. So when you do the average, it's off. So it's probably pretty tight. But it does, in the last couple of polls, Trump has started to pull away there in Pennsylvania. North Carolina, Trump is leading by 5.7 on average. And Nevada, Trump is leading by 7.7. So with the possible exception of Pennsylvania, Trump is leading all of the battleground states. And that's not just individual polls. That's the real clear politics average of polls with regard to the battleground states. Overall, general population, the general election, Trump leading Biden by 2.2. But again, we don't care about the general election. We care about the battleground states. Trump doing very well there. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, you know, I'm in the middle of my journey to lose some weight, and I think it's starting to pay off. I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing on my unofficial scale, but I'm using the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa to guide me on this journey. And it's true that I had lost a lot of weight last year, but after I worked my way through some health issues, my appetite came back, and I just don't want it to get out of control. It was starting to head that way. The weight, it's back. That's right. Well, anyway, I've never taken on a weight loss client before, but I really like the way that Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa are approaching this. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to look at my history and my lifestyle and customize a plan that fits my individual needs. It's a customized treatment plan. And I'll be telling you how it's going as we go forward here. But in the meantime, why don't you do what I did and set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa and be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who've already seen life-changing results. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to this special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.
6 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 58 degrees in Nashville, traffic, and a complete weather forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Despite their falling out 3 years ago, Trump has Mitch McConnell's support.
On February the 25th, 2021, shortly after the attack on the Capitol, I was asked a similar question, and I said I would support the nominee for president even if it were the former president.
Here in Tennessee, Governor Lee endorsed the former president, as well as saying the nation would be stronger with him leading the search. And right now here in Tennessee, the search for a 7-year-old out of Rutherford County has entered its 7th day. There is an endangered child alert out for Iris Crum, but no Amber Alert has been sent out. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley explains.
Iris does not meet all of the criteria that TBI have set for an Amber Alert. The child must be younger than 17 and in imminent danger of injury or death. Instead, Iris qualifies for an endangered child alert, which means there is concern for the missing child's safety. Iris was last seen near Blue Fox Trail in Rutherford County. On Friday, she was supposed to be given back to her dad, who won full custody of her, but she never showed up. Instead, police believe her mom, Kayla Soretta, who does not have custody of her, took Iris and fled. She hasn't been in school for the past week.
Soretta is wanted by police for custodial interference. The father says he's willing to stay in Rutherford County as long as it takes to get his daughter back. Staying in Nashville, Tennessee lawmakers have introduced a bill that would require schools to provide menstrual products at no cost to the students. They'd be in women's bathrooms, locker rooms, and with the school nurse. 25 states currently have a similar legislation. Here in Tennessee, menstrual products are taxed as non-essential goods, and the proposed legislation would require 20% of the state's sales tax revenue from feminine hygiene products to be deposited into a special account that's then distributed to eligible schools to purchase those items for their campuses. The bill has a long way to go in both the House and the Senate to become law. And the verdict is in the first criminal trial over that deadly on-set shooting during the filming of the movie Rust in New Mexico. Jason Nathanson.
It took the jury under 3 hours to come to a verdict.
We find the defendant, Hannah Gutierrez, guilty of involuntary manslaughter as charged in count 1.
Hannah Gutierrez-Reed found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, shot by a gun in the hands of actor and producer Alec Baldwin, a gun that was supposed to contain blanks. Gutierrez-Reed was in charge of the weapons on the set, and during the trial, the prosecution painted her as grossly negligent. Gutierrez-Reed was found not guilty on the charge of evidence tampering. She was immediately taken into custody and faces up to 18 months in prison.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and I am your friend and radio buddy. I'm your Farb, and we're really glad that you're here with us in this last and final hour of our Wednesday show. We're sort of in Super Tuesday hangover mode here today. It's a long day yesterday, and just trying to clean up all the stuff. If you're just getting into your car, I mean, the big news is that Nikki Haley got out today, but did not endorse Donald Trump. There's other stuff going on. For example, in the House of Representatives, they have voted on a plan. Let's see, I've got it right here. They have just approved a spending package to avert another one of those shutdowns. This is not called an omnibus. This is called a minibus, but I don't know that it really is a minibus because it is all kinds of earmarks. I mean, there's a lot of money being spent, taxpayer money at earmarks, and people are upset about it. In fact, today, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who, only has like a 2-vote margin in the House of Representatives, was talking about the fact that, yes, conservatives are upset about the spending bill, but here's how he explained his way out of that.
Yeah, being a leader is hard. We're in difficult times as a nation, and one of the reasons for that is because we have divided government. Remember, we have the smallest majority almost in the history of the Congress, a 2-vote majority. So I am a rock-rib conservative. That's my background. That's where I come from. That's my philosophy. We're never going to compromise core principles. But the reality of divided government is that you have to build consensus, and when you only have 2 votes to spare, you're not going to get everything you want. I think all of my conservative colleagues who are my closest friends here, they understand the reality of that. We're moving an aircraft carrier. We're turning it in the way that Washington works with regard to budgeting and spending, and it takes a while to build back muscle memory. We're doing that. This is an important first step. We did get conservative policy wins here. We got cuts to the agencies, some of them that are the worst offenders in going after the people they're supposed to protect and serve, and there's a lot to champion here. So I think that this is going to pass, and then we have the next set of appropriations bills coming up by the end of this month. We'll get that job done, and we'll move forward to the next fiscal year where we can begin to enact even more of the reforms that we all care about.
But this one spending bill has 1,050 pages in it and includes $13 billion of earmarks. This is what earmarks is a nice way to say pork barrel spending. So let's see. One Republican senator gets 8 earmarks in the omnibus today. No one voted to add these. No one gets to vote to take them out. We have gone back 14 years to before the Tea Party wave, said Representative Thomas Massey, Republican of Kentucky. The swamp is back to buying Republican votes for the omnibus with earmarks. Senator Rick Scott of Florida wrote on his X account that the spending package is packed with 6,600 earmarks, totaling $12.7 billion, skyrocketing inflation, massive debt, but Washington keeps spending your money on stupid pet projects. He would like to stop all earmarks. I would too. Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, said, disappointing that Republicans are going along with Democrats and moving forward with the spending bill that has hundreds of earmarks. This is a real step backwards. I will oppose it with every fiber of my being. Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, said there's no way any mortal could actually vet all of the earmarks in the 48-hour time period they were given. Earmarks are the corrupt currency of Congress. No self-respecting Republican should touch them. Here's one, Chris, you'll love this. This is good. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat, Pennsylvania, had a $1 million earmark for the renovation of an LGBTQ community center in Philadelphia, but he asked that it be removed from the bill after after it was revealed that the center contained rooms where members could go to carry out sex and to try out different sex fetishes.
What?
I'm not making. It's a community center for the LGBTQ community in Philadelphia, and it was a $1 million earmark. But when he found out that there was a room in this community center, as designed, that was going to contain rooms where members could try out their sex fetishes, he requested that the earmark be taken down.
Oh my!
Oh my! He made the request in a letter to the Senate Appropriations Committee leaders. Senator John Thune reportedly sponsored many earmarks in the spending package. He's in the running to replace Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell. As you know, we talked about that. We got another little bit of news about that. By the way, so we know that there were 3 Johns who wanted to become the majority leader of the Senate. You had John Cornyn of Texas, you had John Thune of South Dakota, and John Barrasso of Wyoming. So Thune and Cornyn have announced they're in to replace Mitch McConnell. Barrasso has decided to pass. Here we go. Republican Senator John Barrasso, chairman of the Senate Republican Conference, will not run for leadership of the conference following the retirement of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He has served in the Senate since 2007, was elected chairman in 2018. He was among a trio of senators, Thune and Cornyn and others, who were thought that they might run, but he's not going to run. So there you have Barrasso. But still, this spending bill, outrageous, absolutely outrageous. We have more sound to play for you that we haven't gotten around to today. Okay, here we go. Speaker Johnson on the State of the Union tomorrow. Tomorrow, Joe Biden will go to Capitol Hill. Look, I'm telling you, a lot on the line for the State of the Union address for Joe Biden. If he face plants on the way in, Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States, and he falls flat on his face, it's all over. So he's got to not only get to the podium without tripping or falling, but then he also has to get through a pretty lengthy speech. Now, it's on teleprompter, and he had like 3 days to practice the speech up at Camp David. That's what they were doing over the weekend and then into Monday and Tuesday. He hasn't been seen much this week because he keeps working on the speech. Democrats know that he's in trouble, and they have said, look, we're going to use the speech to sort of relaunch our campaign. All right. If you say so. I don't know if that's going to work out for him or not. Other thing, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, there's some talk about the State of the Union address, but one of the big questions being asked of Karine Jean-Pierre was whether or not after we have gotten through Super Tuesday and we know it's going to be Biden versus Trump or Trump versus Biden. That nice Peter Ducey was asking the question, well, what are we going to do about a debate? Is there going to be a debate?
And so just for clarity, it's possible that there will be no Joe Biden, Donald Trump debates.
Is that what you're excited about? Is that what you want to see? Because you keep asking me. You've asked me about 3, 4, 5 different times in different ways, and I've said.
What would President Biden do in a debate? I'm not asking a question about a specific debate. I'm just asking how would he do in a debate? I know it's been 4 years since he saw.
You literally saw just last year, back in January 2023, at the last State of the Union, take on Republicans during giving a major speech. He took them on. As they were heckling him, he took them on and said he was going to fight for programs, essentially said he was fighting for programs that the American people needed. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. He stood there and fought for the American people. I mean, that was pretty impressive. Some of you all reported on that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Go ahead, Phil.
That's a weasel answer if I ever heard one. Absolutely a weasel answer. She didn't ever say he would debate. Didn't want to go there. He's not going to debate. He's gonna go to the basement in Delaware, and he's going to hide out. And he's going to do a lot of things by remote, and he's not going to travel a lot. But I don't know. He's not going to debate. And Trump really missed an opportunity last night as he was doing his victory lap at Mar-a-Lago. That should have been the first thing he said. All right, Joe, when are we going to debate? It's you and me now. Let's debate. But he didn't go there. And so the question was asked by Peter Ducey, didn't get an answer at all. As for the State of the Union address, Karine Jean-Pierre says, well, don't you worry, because you're going to hear in this address stuff because, Joe Biden, he's got his finger on the pulse of America.
This is his third State of the Union address, as you know. This is going to be, as you can imagine, a very important, as he sees it, a conversation that he'll have with the American people. Millions of people are going to be watching. And so it's not just about the people who are the elected officials who are in front of him. And so, I would say this. I would say this is certainly a continuation of those conversations that he has with the American people when he goes out, and travels on the road. Right? He hears directly from them. He hears what they are dealing with. He deals with what their family is dealing with, and so it's built on that. It's built on those conversations, that experience that he has, and knowing and having his finger on the pulse is certainly about what the American people have been going through these past 3 years.
Well, let me ask you a question. In order to have your finger on the pulse of what the American people are up to and what they think, do you yourself have to have a pulse? I mean, come on, it's a fair question. I don't know. Look, by the way, here's Speaker Johnson again on the State of the Union tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, he's going to try to stand up here and convince the American people that the State of the Union is strong and that we're on the right track. But everybody knows that's just simply not true. The State of the Union is in decline. When you talk about our safety, our security, our sovereignty, our economy, every metric, and everybody knows it. And so I think what you're going to see as you go through the election cycle is the stark contrast between these two competing visions for who we are as a country and how we can get back to our strength, the strength that we had during the Trump administration. After just the first 2 years, the greatest economy in the history of the world. We can achieve that again, but you have to make the right policies and you have to elect the right people that will enact those policies.
All right. You know what? I don't care one whit. I mean, I used to cover State of the Union addresses. I've lost track of how many I've gone to. Sometimes I was in the balcony. Sometimes I was in Statuary Hall. But, I mean, I've covered a lot of them. I think going back to the days of Ronald Reagan. I covered from Reagan all the way up to Barack Obama, for sure. I've covered them. And I just, I have no interest in hearing anything that Joe Biden has to say. I think the only thing that I'm interested to know is does he get through it without a major faux pas of some kind? Because, I mean, everybody sort of expects there'll be one. And he desperately, I mean, from the Democrat side of the equation, they're hoping that this goes really smoothly. And he'll probably, they'll give him a 5-hour energy drink and a dose of Prevagen and a B12 shot. And they'll make sure he gets a good afternoon nap before he goes up there. And, he'll probably do okay. I mean, he can rally sometimes in big moments. But I think if he stays to the script and stays to the teleprompter, he'll probably be okay. But, if there's any other moment, like some that he's had of late on the public stage, it's not going to be good for this guy. And I think we all sort of are going to be watching to see not so much what he says, but if he gets if he gets through it. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let me tell you about Nashville Gold and Coin. Folks, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. And you know what they're going to do. They're just going to print money to pay off the interest on the debt and in the process debase the U.S. dollar. You can save with gold and other precious metals. And in fact, it is true that gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. My friends at Nashville Gold and Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you really don't feel like you have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. I'll be honest with you, that's the way I felt, but I got professional guidance that I needed from Nashville Gold and Coin. You set up an appointment, that's right, and then you'll sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold and Coin. They'll answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that's right for you. It's friendly, you'll learn a lot, and you'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. So to set up that old one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. 1917. That's from Mac Maury.
Oh, that's the score of the Vols game?
Somebody just told me. I don't know. I wouldn't have it on my monitor or anything.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Louisiana. You know, I love a lot of things to like about Louisiana. The good people come from Louisiana. I love the Creole cooking, a good food. You got New Orleans. It's a dangerous place to go, but it's a fun place to go. It also has now become the nation's 28th state with a constitutional carry law on the books. That's right. There are 28 states in America that have now constitutional carry. So here we go. Louisiana became the 28th state in the nation to enshrine into law the right of its residents to carry concealed firearms without a permit. Today, we join 27 other states in passing constitutional carry. I promised the folks of Louisiana that I would champion constitutional carry into law, and within 2 months, I've honored that commitment, said Republican Governor Jeff Landry, speaking to Fox News Digital. It's fundamentally clear that law-abiding citizens should never have to seek government permission to safeguard themselves and their families. Today, we have secured an incredible victory for liberty in Louisiana, and said, I want to thank Louisiana's NRA members for their great work. He signed it into law on Tuesday. It allows eligible residents 18 and older to carry a concealed handgun without a permit. The primary author, Republican State Senator Blake Miguez, exclusively told Fox News Digital that Governor's signature marks a key milestone in our enduring quest for liberty. I mean, but really, when you stop and think about it, it's amazing that more than half of the states in the United States now have a constitutional carry law. We, of course, have that, or something very close to don't at me. I know it's not. There are people out there say we don't have pure constitutional carry. We have something pretty dang close. I'll tell you that for sure. But there are some 28 states now across the nation. That's more than half. And that tells you a lot about where we are as a country. And again, love that. I think it's a great idea. Here, I have the entire list. You want to go through the list? This is where you can go and not have to worry about having a permit. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire. I'm surprised by that. North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, the great state of Tennessee, the great state of Texas, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, and, all important, Wyoming. Pretty cool. But, I know that I promise you that having even put in all those caveats, I will get an email from somebody. So, but, really honestly, that's an amazing thing. And welcome to the club, Louisiana. Let's go for 50. Let's not stop at 28, all right? And on that note, we'll call it 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and Prepare with Mandis.
Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than your average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you noticed how hard it can be to get a right-now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, it can be more than 2 weeks just to get the appointment, but not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999, plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then just call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says, "We will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away now." Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. It's 36 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Just a few more minutes here before we wrap things up and hand it over to Mark Levin. Chris, have you ever had your car booted?
Thankfully, no.
I have had my car booted, and it was strangely enough, it was in the apartment that I lived in when I first came to Nashville.
Oh, right across the street here.
Yeah, right across the street from the station. When I first lived there, you park in a car. Well, I had two vehicles and only one parking pass. So I would always, drive. If I drove out with the one. I would take the parking pass with me, and I thought, well, I have sometimes I would park the other car over at the station. So I never had more than one car there, but I wanted to be able to sometimes bring the one vehicle over and leave it over and swap out the cars.
Yeah.
It's sort of silly, but so they booted me two or three times. And I said, no, I have the pass. But instead of being stuck on the window, I had it on a plasticized card. And so, that became the big issue. Well, you're not supposed to do that. I said, well, but I've never got more than one car here. And I only have one pass. You want to give me another pass? No, we can't do that. Well, I said, well, we got to work this out because sometimes one car is going to be parked in here and the other one's going to be parked over at the station, which is, just across the street. So anyway, it became a big hassle. Finally, we got it straightened out, and they sent word to the parking company not to boot me. Well, we got this thing going on here in Nashville right now. The state legislature is considering a bill. It's our friend Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson filed legislation to protect vehicle owners in Tennessee from people trying to profit off, having your car booted. Apparently, there's not a lot of laws that protect you. Senate Bill 1692 would cap the fee to remove a boot at $75, create new regulations for towing and parking, and would make it so that only people licensed through a local government can boot cars. Currently, companies can charge whatever they want. It could also speed up getting the boot removed. Commercial lots would need to have attendants on site and remove the boot within 30 minutes of a driver's call. Johnson says he'd received complaints from people who have had to go through unreasonably long and expensive processes to get control of their car again, and he said the wait time could be dangerous. If you're going to go to the egregious step of immobilizing someone's vehicle when there could be an emergency, could be a sick child, you need to get to the hospital, you come out and find your vehicle has been immobilized, those people need to be held accountable. Legislation also notes the vehicle owners have to be properly notified if, for example, the vehicle has been towed, sold, or demolished. You take my car, and I'm on a trip or somewhere, and I come back and find it's been towed, sold, or demolished. I'm going to be very happy. Wow. Well, I can't imagine that there. I always like to make sure. I want to be fair here. I can't imagine that there's a positive side. Probably one of the most hated people in all of the world are the people who boot your cars.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Is there anybody out there who would look favorably upon somebody who comes and boots your car? I don't know. But then I get an email.
Uh-oh.
I won't use this person's name but I may get them on as a guest because I'm dying to know the other side of the story. I know. There is apparently another side of the story. Good afternoon. I'm a loyal listener to the 99.7 afternoon show for several years. I am the owner of a booting company in downtown Nashville, which, as you know, is a currently hot button issue. We are a legally operating company, although that doesn't seem to be the case for all businesses in parking enforcement. I wanted to know if you would be interested in a candid on-air conversation about this widely practiced form of parking enforcement from the side of the booting company. Are you at least a little curious?
A little bit, gotta say.
I don't know, maybe so. Parking enforcement companies tend to shy away from open conversations, and I would like to offer the opposite approach by talking and discussing why the practice is necessary and, contrary to popular opinion, not predatory when done properly. I look forward to hearing back from you and hope this may be of some interest to you. Thank you. I don't know. What? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Should I call this person or should I send him a message?
I think it's an interesting conversation to be had there, especially with it being in the news like it is.
I'm always fascinated by, there's got to be, I would have never thought that you could put a positive spin on, hi, I'm here from the booting company, and we provide a very positive and important service to the city of Nashville. I guess. Well, I tell you what, I'll give her send her an email and see if we can set something up. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Who would have thought? When I saw this, I said, Really? There's a positive side to this? But maybe there is.
For them, I guess, because they're getting money every time they stick a boot on one, right?
Look, I mean, you got to have some enforcement, right? I mean, if we don't enforce parking laws, then it's anarchy. But I mean, that's the one thing that just universally rankles people. You know, I mean, I've had a situation here in Nashville where I went in and I scanned the QR code, went into a parking lot. I was going to something over at the Ryman, and I was in a big open parking lot on the other side, you know, the one that down there by the hockey arena. And I was there, and I scanned the QR code, and I did everything I was supposed to do, and I still got a ticket.
Wow.
And I thought, well, you know what? And I just don't have the patience to deal with it, so I just took the loss. I probably shouldn't have. I should have stood my ground on it, but I mean, your time is valuable too, right?
That's true.
You don't want to get stuck in a 3-hour phone call trying to work all that stuff out. It's maddening when it happens, but I don't know. I'll give her a holler and see if she wants to come on and talk about it. And well, I'm not saying that I endorse the idea of booting. I mean, what kind of guy would want to be I endorse booting? But by the same token, I'm just sort of curious about the whole thing. Let's see, what else have we got here? I want to talk about the thing that is happening with this story that continues to percolate out there regarding the border. If you haven't caught my take on this story, it's been out there for a couple of days. First broken by the Daily Mail, and now it's being picked up by others. And really, honestly, the people responsible for this information are the Center for Immigration Studies. And apparently, I mean, this is astonishing to me. I just can't believe it. The Biden administration flew roughly 320,000 illegal immigrants into the United States to a total of some 43 different airports from multiple foreign cities. So understand, illegal immigrants are like, let's say, I'm making up the place where this was because I don't have the information. They don't say. Well, let's say you got a bunch of immigrants in Venezuela who want to come to the United States. All they had to do, are you ready for this, is to get on their app, the download the app from the Border Patrol, apply for asylum, and then the Biden administration would fly them from Venezuela directly to the United States and release them. And they went to some different 43 different airports across the United States, but they won't tell you which ones. That's maddening. I mean, what? The Biden administration, taxpayer dollars are going to, number one, fly immigrants into the country from other countries, and they're illegal immigrants, but they don't have to go to the border. They don't have to be dealt with the Border Patrol. They just put them on a plane and they fly them in directly and they drop them in some city near you. Now, there's so many questions about this. Number one, I mean, I know why they were doing it. They didn't, this was all of last year. 320,000 people flown to this country by the Biden administration, rather than have them make the trek down and cross the river and all of that. So they've got a problem, right? They know that people don't like the border situation, and they got all these pictures of people stacked up in places like Eagle Pass, right? They know, and they hate that picture because it shows people that the border is out of control. The border is in chaos. So in order to lessen that number of people that you see on the television screens on Fox News, they decided to circumvent the entire process and just fly people into the country. The other part of it is those numbers are now not counted as people who were encountered at the border. So in addition to all the people that have been encountered at the border, which runs into the millions, add to it 320,000 people we didn't know about until today. They are flying people into our country and dropping them at airports all over the country. And then this is the maddening thing, is they won't tell you which airports. They won't tell you, well, you know, we have a FOIA request, and we don't have to tell you where. We just have to admit that, yes, it was happening, and that's bad enough. But, I mean, I want to know where. For example, so here's the thing. you got New York and Chicago and L.A. and Denver all crying right now because they say, look, the governor of Texas is shipping all these people into our community because we're a sanctuary city. Well, how many of these 320,000 people that came into the country were sent to those sanctuary cities by the Biden administration? Flown directly in and released. I mean, maybe they were sent to other airports around the country. Remember, we had a story a while back that they were doing that, here in Tennessee. What was it, at an airport near Chattanooga, was it? I think it was. I forget where. Knoxville, Chattanooga, somewhere. They were bringing them directly in here and releasing them at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So, first of all, they're being secretive about the whole thing because they're flying them in at night. I guarantee you they're flying them in at night. 2 o'clock in the morning, releasing them into communities, putting them on buses, and distributing them all over the country. Why? Why are they doing it? This absolutely is maddening because they say, oh, well, we're trying to get this under control. Don't you worry. We're doing everything we can possibly do to get it under control. And by the way, it's not our fault. And here we have an example where they took 320,000 people, put them on planes, and flew them into the country at taxpayer expense. And then they won't tell us which parts of the country they sent them. Why is this not on CBS, ABC, NBC? Why is this not on CNN? Why is this not on MSNBC? Why is this not on the front page of the New York Times, the Washington Post? Why not? This is a hell of a story. How did they get away with this for so long, and only now we find out about it? The program at the center of the FOIA litigation, again, they got this through a FOIA request, is perhaps the most enigmatic and least known of the Biden administration's uses of the CBP One cell phone app, even though it was responsible for almost invisibly importing by air 320,000 aliens with no legal right to enter the United States. It began in 2022 and continued all the way through 2023, may still be going on as far as we know. Thank you to the Center for Immigration Studies for finding out about this. But where is the outrage? Where is the story on the evening news so that everybody in America knows about this? And how in the world can you say, Greg Abbott is doing something bad when the Biden administration was doing the exact same freaking thing? I don't know. It makes me mad, and I want to see more coverage of that particular story. 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Hey everybody, Dan Mandis here. Got my first shipment of emergency food from My Patriot Supply. Gonna make these pancakes. Now you prepare and cook them just like regular pancakes. But thanks to the special packaging, they last for 25 years. So when things go wrong, you are eating right with My Patriot Supply. And yes, they taste great. Now every week, I'm going to introduce you to different food. My Patriot Supply is America's most trusted supplier of emergency food. Head on over to my website, preparewithmandis.com, right now and see all the different foods that they have and all the great specials as well. That's preparewithmandis.com. Be prepared for anything with My Patriot Supply and preparewithmandis.com.